Sienna God, hello, all afternoon, good afternoon, and whatever. Thank you for watching. So there was a clip that I posted like yesterday, a link to the YouTube deal that Judge Joe Brown did with, oh, I didn't write the name of the podcast people down. Dang, but the clip is called Obama and Brad Pitt Are Cousins. Judge Joe Brown Shocks the Podcast, and it aired November 14th, 2023, and it's roughly 11 minutes long. So I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna break it down right quick. So, in case you don't have the 11 minutes, I'm going to try and do this real fast. And it doesn't matter about your party affiliation. The point is that you need to do on your own research and understand that it's literally not about the parties, y'all, because they are connected, okay? There's a bigger picture out there. Anyway, so Judge Joe Brown talks about, I'm going to do it as he kind of like touches on them. So he says, Obama has no experience as a black man to relate to the racist black experience, nor does any of his family members. And then he goes on to explain one of his own experiences as a 5-year-old with his parents that stuck out in his mind that was pretty extreme. And then he says no one in Obama's family has an experience like that. He goes on to what he calls birthgate. The Constitution in the U.S. defines citizenship, in two places. One of which he qualifies. All he has to have is an American parent. He can be born anywhere in the world. He's an American citizen. The other one deals with running for president or vice president. You have to be born on American soil, state, territory, protectorate, military, naval base, consulate, or embassy, which he then says Ted Cruz does not qualify because he was bragging about being born in Canada. That disqualifies you if you read the Federalist Papers. They tell you they don't want any sleepers sneaking in and taking control of the government. So you have to be born on American soil. Consulates and embassies have a lot of things where women rush to have their children there when they can't get back to the United States or whatever, so they qualify for that. He goes on to Churchill saying he's an American citizen because his mother was from Chicago. She was an American heiress. His father, an English lord, he renounced his citizenship so he could become Sir Winston because America does not allow ennoblement under the Constitution, but he was an American citizen. That's why he had such a fan club. It says, but he couldn't run for American president because he wasn't born on American soil. If you are born in America, Samoa, the Canal Zone, Puerto Rico, you can run for president. Obama released a birth certificate when he enrolled in college. It lists the room number, phone number of the pediatrician who delivered the mom. The mom was 18 years, 3 months old. She was a citizen of Canada. He is in the White House for 18 months before he gets one from Hawaii. And then he goes on to explain how two people who worked on his show, because remember Judge Brown had that show. That show was like a pretty big show. But anyway, he had two people who worked on his show that needed their passports to go on a trip. So he personally called the Department of Vital Statistics in Hawaii and had them expedite the delivery and got the birth certificates for them in 48 hours. So if he can do that in 48 hours, then in 2000, right? That was in 2000. Why would it take the President of the United States 18 months? He then says his ex-wife, which was his wife at the time, wanted to send their oldest son, and he said that it was like more than 20 plus years ago. Anyway, to the same school that Obama went to, okay? He looked into it and said his son didn't even earn that because the tuition with room and board was $95,000 a year. He talked with two people, one of them who worked out in Hollywood and one that he met in Hawaii some time ago, who bragged about going to school with Obama. And that person said that the tuition at the time that they went, because it was like both of them or whatever, they went was $45,000 a year, and that was not including room and board. So Obama was a rich kid. His father, Lolo Soetoro, was an international executive vice president for Standard Oil. This is his adopted father who adopted him when he was about 2 years old. He was also a major in the Indonesian army from 1958 to 63 or 62 or 63, he says. And he ran a death squad. Allegedly, there was a warrant out for him. It says in Hague, for mass murdering or being responsible for killing 500,000 people back in the 50s, where when he ran the death squads. He studied, and then Judge Brown studied this in the late 60s. And he says, I remember that guy. I had no idea he was connected. Anyway, as VP for Standard Oil at the time in question, it was believed that Indonesia sat on the world's largest oil reserve. So it was called Standard Oil. So Standard Oil wanted to get into that, but couldn't under American law, so they propped up financially their VP. He ran the death squads, had a lot of muscles, so he ended up becoming the oil tycoon for Indonesia. When he died, he was supposedly one of the richest men on earth. He supposedly died from the cumulative effects of 3 separate automobile accidents, which came from the fact that he was a master spy. The U.S. protected him because at the time he was running the spy operations for the CIA as a contractor in China, North Korea, North Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. And he says, now remember, the Nam, so Vietnam is going on, Vietnam War is going on at this particular time. George Herbert Walker Bush ran the CIA under the Ford administration, and George Herbert Walker Bush was cousin to his wife Obama's mother, and Obama's mother's father, Obama's maternal grandmother, was first cousin to George Herbert Walker Bush. So the family all had fun and games from Bush's CIA connections from when he ran the CIA. Lolo Soetoro also through his second cousin, who was married to him, and also through the father-in-law to Soetoro, who was his first cousin. Brad Pitt is a cousin to these guys. Warren Buffett is a cousin to this bunch. Obama and Brad Pitt are 9th cousins. The link is Edward Hickman. But see, it wrote Hickman, like they brought it up on the screen because they're like researching this in real time as he's bringing it up. And it said Hickman, but everybody kept saying Hinkman. So anyway, who died in 1769. When you see Michelle and George giggling, and he gives the candy, and he says, from what he hears from inside sources, is that's the same candy that he used to give to her husband when he was a kid. Then he talks about a picture that he used to be able to Google, but you can't now, of Lolo Soetoro, George Herbert Walker Bush, Obama as a kid, and then the other George Bush as a kid, okay? And they're standing up, let's see, Soetoro is standing up with a golf club, and this is when George Herbert Walker Bush was still in the Illinois House, soon to be president of the United States, okay? So he was sitting on, Soetoro was standing up with a golf club, and then George Sr. was sitting in the golf cart with his arm around a 7 to 8 year old kid. Standing next to it was George W. Bush, and the kid is Lolo Soetoro's adopted kid, Barry Soetoro, soon to be Barack Obama. George Bush and Barack Obama grew up together. So by the description of the photo, it sounds as though Soetoro is standing up with a golf club. George Sr. is sitting down in the golf cart with his arm around Obama, and then Bush Jr. is standing next to him. Anyway, yeah, it's a web, you know, and it all funnels back to certain familial groups who have long-standing ties of like centuries back. So they're all still trying to keep it. It reminds me of like, you know, kings and queens, how they would have like incest and stuff like that because they're trying to keep the money in the family and the power in the family. That's literally how it is with the U.S. So I don't know if it's being broken with the current administration. I have no idea. And maybe that's why they're upset, but I don't know. Anyway, it's more than that. And quit buying into all the hoopla and just dig into it yourself. Don't go hang, you want to get your ass to meet again. Love you, mean it.